With Monster Hunter Rise bringing back a number of monster categories back into the series, I thought now would be a great time to take a look at a number of monsters that I would personally like to see make a return within Monster Hunter Rise. Let's go ahead and check them out. Hey everyone, Pinoy X here once again, back with another Monster Hunter video, and today I thought now is a great time for us to take a look at a number of monsters I would personally like to see make a return within Monster Hunter Rise. Now many of these monsters I picked out for different characteristics, but ultimately, the main reason I want to see them make a return with the upcoming title is due to the fact that I find it quite fun to actually fight these monsters, especially in higher difficulties. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at these monsters, see what their characteristics are, and why I think they should make a return within the upcoming Monster Hunter Rise game. Okay, so right off the bat, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at a member of the Fated 4 that I think should make a return in the series just because of the fact that we already have Mizutsune in Rise and we had Glavenus back in Iceborne. This is Gammoth. Now Gammoth is a very fascinating fang beast in that unlike all the other fang beasts that we have seen so far that would either have a form of bear-like body structure or they would have a monkey-like body structure, or gorilla, whichever you want to go with. Gammoth doesn't have that body structure. It instead has the popo structure, which is more akin to that of an elephant. This is possibly the most unique fang beast out of the entire series in my opinion, because this is the only monster with this kind of skeleton on it. And the fight against this monster is actually quite fun, especially considering the fact that we have the wire bugs now. We're gonna be going ahead and scaling this monster as we continue to fight against it. So this is definitely a monster I would like to see make a return in Rise due to the fact that it's a unique monster in terms of its overall design, and it's actually gonna be quite fun to fight it, especially with the wire bug mechanic. Now, since we're on the subject of the Fated 4 anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the final member of this group that I would like to see return, which is the Astalos. The Astalos is my favorite of the Fated 4 for two reasons. The first one has to be the aesthetics of the monster. It's not just the green coloration, which I enjoy, I'm not gonna deny that. It's also the fact that this monster, unlike most flying wyverns which have a lizard-like body to it, this monster has an insectoid body instead. If you take a look at all of the flying wyverns and compare it to Astalos, this one stands out very much as a whole due to the fact that this monster has insect-like features to it not seen on other flying wyverns. Alongside this, with the lightning capabilities of the Astalos, its unique green lightning can be utilized in long-range attacks as well as physical attacks by galvanizing its body much like Zinogre in order to empower it. You'll notice that this monster is galvanizing its body by seeing those unique neon green glows running across the wings, the face, and the tail of the monster. Overall, I enjoy this monster for its aesthetic features and its unique capability of generating that green lightning. Okay, so with the Fated 4 out of the way, let's now take a look at a monster that I personally think should be a no-brainer in being added in Rise just because Leviathans finally made a return into the game. This of course is Lagiacros. Now with Lagiacros, technical limitations prevented itself as well as the rest of Leviathans from making it in Monster Hunter World. However, with Rise utilizing the RE engine, this means that technical limitations are no longer gonna prevent it from coming into this game. I personally think that this monster should be added into this game just because they couldn't do it justice back in Monster Hunter World. Now, one of the key aspects about Lagiacros is that this monster mostly focused in underwater combat, so land-based combat with this creature isn't necessarily going to be all that fantastic as we saw with Monster Hunter Generations and Gen Ultimate. I think they should evolve the combat capabilities of this monster to be as efficient on land just as it is underwater without having to utilize any underwater combat. The Somnacant is a perfect example of a monster that can still swim but doesn't have to go underwater in order to become efficient. So I think Lagiacros can evolve into the same level as the Somnacant, if not more so in Monster Hunter Rise if they do add this monster back into the game. Up next, we have the Najarala. This is the only monster in the Snake Wyvern category, making it unique in the entire series. For me, the reason I really enjoy the fight against this monster is because of the fact that unlike any other creatures that we have seen thus far, this is the only monster that has a unique movement where it literally tries to wrap itself around you, kind of like a boa constrictor in real life. This is definitely a fun monster to fight and I would like to see it improved upon in Rise, but not only that, I'm really hoping that the Snake Wyvern category gets expanded upon just like what they did with the Tamnakaran category, having a new monster added to it. So not only do I want Najarala to make it back into Monster Hunter Rise, I'm also hoping that one new Snake Wyvern gets added into this game alongside the Najarala. Now this next monster we're gonna look into, many people might not have heard of unless they played Monster Hunter Frontier or alternatively played PSO2 when they collaborated with Monster Hunter Frontier. This is Eros Erion. Eros Erion is an elder dragon that is capable of utilizing the elements of ice and fire in tandem with one another. Now even though these elements are conflicting with one another, the Eros Erion bends them to its will in order to decimate hunters with a flurry of fire and ice-based attacks. With this creature being from Frontier, it will have a ridiculous moveset. However, at the same time, after seeing Safi'jiiva and Alatreon as well as the Fatalis in Iceborne, ridiculous movesets for Elder Dragons no longer surprises me. So I'm really hoping that if they are gonna be able to bring back at least one Frontier monster with Monster Hunter Rise, I'm really hoping it's gonna be Eros Erion because this Elder Dragon is definitely unique with its utilization of the two conflicting elements. So this next monster is a 2-for-1 deal because we're taking a look at both the juvenile and the adult stages of this creature. This of course is Gore Magala and Gore Magala. Now just a little bit of lore advancement here, Gore Magala is now being treated as an elder dragon much like its adult stage, meaning that unlike previous generation Monster Hunter games, this could be categorized as an elder dragon if it was added into Monster Hunter Rise. Having said that though, whether or not you can still capture this creature, that remains to be seen. Now with regards to the combat capabilities of both Gore and Gore Magala, they focus around infecting you with the Frenzy virus. Now with the Frenzy virus, you either gain a benefit or drawback from it depending on how much damage you deal to the Gore Magala or the Gore Magala. Deal enough damage and you will gain a buff that allows you to benefit from the Frenzy virus once it propagates in your body. However, if you don't deal enough damage, this instead becomes a huge drawback by draining your HP very quickly. So depending on the scenario that you're looking into, you have to be very aggressive in attacking the monster in order to gain the benefits of the Frenzy virus as you're fighting both Gore and Gore Magala alike. So hopefully, this is a monster that does make it back into Rise and maintains that mechanic where the Frenzy virus can either be a benefit or a drawback depending on how well you perform against this monster. So the next monster we're gonna look into is one that's been recently added into the series as the flagship of Monster Hunter World. This of course is Nergigante. Now with regards to Nergigante, the main reason I would like to see it return in Rise is because the combat capabilities of this monster actually evolves the more damage you deal to it, to the point that it gets very difficult to deal with this monster. This means that there's an increased chance of you fainting and potentially failing the quest because of how aggressive and evolved the combat capabilities of Nergigante are in the second half of the fight. So this is one of those key monsters that really knows how to adapt to a situation, and it teaches hunters to never let their guard down because a monster could easily decimate you if you don't pay attention to certain changes in the monster's overall behavior and combat abilities. Now up next, we have the OG warbug of the entire series, which is the Italka. If they're gonna create an entire mechanic revolving around silks and warbugs, they have to bring this creature back in my opinion in order to give it justice. One of the key aspects that I really enjoy about the Italka is that it will utilize its golden silk not just to pick up rocks and debris and possibly even dragonators in order to decimate hunters. It has its own wyvern riding mechanic, which is the Empress Throne, a gigantic construct that the monster will utilize by using its golden silk in order to control it, much like we do with warbugs and wyvern riding. To me, if they're gonna bring back this monster, I really hope that they do reference in the story that the monster is capable of utilizing silk much like hunters do with certain scenarios. So this is something that I'm really hoping Capcom does if they do bring back Italka in any way, shape or form with regards to the narrative of Monster Hunter Rise and how this monster is possibly the inspiration for Kamura Village in utilizing warbugs and silkbind attacks as well as wyvern riding. Another recently added monster into the series I would like to see return in Rise has to be the Bombbro. Now the main reason I enjoy the fight against Bombbro and I would like to see it return and rise is because of the fact that this creature actually augments its capabilities depending on the location that you're fighting it in. What this means is that the fight against Bombbro is never gonna feel truly the same when you're fighting it in one location compared to fighting it in another location. This is because the elemental properties, status ailments, as well as the hitbox of the monster could become completely altered depending on the location that you're fighting it in. So this is definitely the unique aspect of Bombbro that makes me want to fight it in Rise once again, just because of the fact that different locations would have different outcomes with regards to the combat capability of this particular monster. The final monster that I'm really hoping makes a return within Monster Hunter Rise has to be none other than the Elder Dragon Volstrax. The main reason I really enjoy this Elder Dragon overall is because the entire concept of this Elder Dragon is so unique by comparison to the other dragons in the series. In fact, comparing it to other monsters, this one definitely strikes me as being more mechanical in comparison to the other monsters, which feel more organic. One of the key aesthetic features that I really like about this monster as well is the wings looking like literal jet engines. Not only are they capable of blasting you with the dragon element, it can allow the Volstrax to fly at super high speeds, thus giving it its super move that allows it to fly up into the sky beyond the boundaries of the locale and then dive bomb towards you afterwards with great force, making the dive bomb of Basilgeuse look weak by comparison. To me, this is one of the best Elder Dragons in the entire series, and I really enjoyed the entire concept of this monster having a more mechanical design to it by comparison to the other monsters in the series. So I'm hoping that with the RE engine, they can improve upon the overall aesthetics of this monster, but not only that, also evolve its capabilities, especially revolving around high-speed movement. So this is definitely a monster I would like to see return within Monster Hunter Rise if possible. And that's pretty much all the monsters that I can think of on the top of my head as of right now that I would like to see make a return within Monster Hunter Rise in some capacity. At the end of the day, this is just my personal wish list of monsters that I would like to see return with the upcoming title, meaning that the monsters that you might be thinking of might not even be on this list. So with that said, what monsters would you like to see return within Monster Hunter Rise in any capacity? Let us know in the comments below which monsters you would like to see return in the game, and let us know the reason why you think these monsters should make it back within Monster Hunter Rise. Now with all of that being said, if you enjoyed these videos, please consider leaving a like on the video itself and subscribing to the channel as well as hitting that bell icon so you can go ahead and catch up on any future Monster Hunter content that I might be doing or any other games that I might be playing in future. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this video, thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Onward and upward.